Inside your catalog item, you will find the Details window, which allows you to set the name and provide an item description. The metadata allows you to add attributes that do not have configurable values, or which are immutable. These can be used as part of configuring logic or be pulled for integrations into other systems. Your classification window allows you to add tags or keywords which may be used to categorize data for usage elsewhere. The visualization window is where we will connect this item with the 3D assets that are created in the Assets area. The attributes describe key aspects of the item which are configurable. These are your customer selectable options. They allow the linkage behind the scenes to the attributes within the 3D Assets area, which determine which images will be displayed for each selection. Some attributes may pull data from other items. For example, a part reference may use tags to determine the values. The rules allow you to limit which of the selectable combinations are allowed. Pricing, of course, allows you to set the pricing for the item. Notice you will need to add a price book in order to use this feature. In your Assets area, you will find all of the items used for creating your 3D images. In the Create Asset area, you will select the specific type of asset you intend to create, as well as providing a name. For any given asset, you may edit in a variety of ways. The Nodes area contains all of the various items which are located within this asset. For each of them, you may click to change the property values. You may drag additional asset components from the bottom Assets window. These are all located within the Layouts tab. The Logic tab will allow you to add attributes and rules specific to this asset. These attributes are what link behind the scenes to the attributes within the item catalog to determine what will be displayed. They need to have identical names in order for this behind-the-scenes linking to function properly. The rules will add information to the 3D asset about what action is to be taken when they are changed. In order to connect your 3D asset to your item, you will need to return to the catalog item in the Edit area and select the appropriate 3D asset under the Visualization area. This is what allows you to see the 3D image in the preview when you click Save. Add a new catalog item by navigating to the Catalog area in the left-hand menu. In the upper right, click the Add Item button. You will need to name your item. Then give your item a description. To add a string attribute, inside your item, scroll down to the Attributes area. From the drop-down, select String. String attributes may be used for two types of values. One type is where the user would input data. For example, if this was a product with a customizable name on the product. In this case, you would simply give this string what you want it to be called in the interface and leave the values empty. You may also use string values if you want certain set options available. For example, if I want an attribute of visible, I would want to set the values to yes and no, or true and false. For each value that you would like as an option, simply type it in and press the Enter or Return key. Type in the next one and press Enter or Return. After you've added all of your values, you will note that there is a default value option at the bottom. It is always good practice to select one of your items as the default value. When you finish adding your attributes, always be sure to click the Save Item at the bottom. If you leave without clicking Save Item, your item will not be saved. Add a number attribute by opening your catalog item, then scrolling to the Attributes area. Click the Add an Attribute dropdown and select Number. You will want to give this attribute a name as it will display in the interface. For example, width. You may set default values as well as min and max in this area. When you finish adding your attributes, always be sure to click the Save Item at the bottom. If you leave without clicking Save Item, your item will not be saved. To create a 3D asset, click on the Assets in the left-hand menu. Click Create Asset at the top right corner. Name your asset. In this case, I am going to create a model, so I need to ensure that Model is highlighted. Then click Save Asset. Add a default box into your Threekit editor by clicking on the box-shaped icon in the upper left. Select the option for Box. To add a string attribute in our 3D Asset Editor, we must click on the Logic tab at the top. Click the Add Attribute button at the bottom. Select String to add a string attribute. In order for these attributes to properly link with the attributes in your catalog items, they must have exactly the same name. I can use my visible that I created earlier in this tutorial. It had options of yes and no. I will also want to select a default value in this area. These attributes may be created in the catalog or the asset area first. The key is they must have exactly the same name in order to properly communicate between the two areas. Be sure to click the Done button, which will save your attribute when you are finished. To add a number attribute to our asset, ensure that you have clicked on the Logic tab at the top. Then select Add Attribute and click Number. In order to connect this attribute to an attribute previously created in the catalog, you will want to ensure the names are exactly the same. Select your step, min, max, and default value. Remember, you must click Done in order to save your attribute. In order to add a rule to our asset, we need to be in the Asset Editing area, click Logic, then select Rules. Click Add Rule, and give our rule an appropriate name. In this case, I am going to make the rule that goes with my visibility attribute. So I'm going to call it Visible. In fact, I will need two of these rules, one for when the asset is set to visible, and one when it is not visible. Under Conditions, click the button to add a new condition. In this case, I want my visible attribute, and I want it to be equal to yes, so that it will show the item when this attribute equals yes. Under Actions, click Add Action and select Set Visibility. In your Set box, you will have options for each of the nodes located in your layout view. If I have a box and a sphere, I would need to select which of those items I want to be visible when this visible attribute is set to yes. For instance, I could say my box and check the box on the right is set to true, so it is visible whenever the visible attribute says yes. I can add multiple options in here if I would like this to be true for multiple items. Once you have set your action, be sure to click the Done button in order to save your work. Setting the Not Visible rule works the same way. We simply click Add Rule, tell it this is our Not Visible rule, Select the same condition, however, this time when we have our attribute to no is when we want it to be not visible. We select the same action of set visibility, however, this time we leave the box unchecked. An unchecked box acts as a false value, and these items that we have selected here will be invisible on our screen. Always check done when you are finished. Assets are associated with catalog items from within the item editing area. If necessary, click the Threekit icon to return to your catalog. Then click your catalog item. In the upper right-hand corner, select Edit. On the right-hand side, locate the visualization pane and select the appropriate 3D asset. Then click Save at the bottom. After saving your asset, it will now be visible in the preview area at the top of the page. To import assets to Threekit, navigate to the Asset area. Then open the assets on your computer. Highlight all of those you wish to copy, drag them over, and drop within the Asset field. A window will appear showing you the progress of each of those assets as they are uploaded. To add a part reference attribute to your item, ensure you are in the item editing area. Under Attributes, select Add an Attribute and then Part Reference. Give this part reference the desired name. To add a tag to an item, ensure you are in the item editing area within the catalog. On the right-hand side, locate the classification pane. Under Tags, click and begin typing the tag you would like to use. For example, metal. Then press Return or Enter. Once you have added all of the tags for the item, go to the bottom and save the item. To use tags for attribute values, return to the item editor in your catalog for the item which contains the attribute. Find the attribute for which you would like to use the tag values. In the Values area, type in the tag or select it from the drop-down list. Notice the tag will show you how many items have that tag associated with them. Click Save at the bottom to save your work. In the Asset area, you have the ability to filter any of the various columns or run a search. Click on the icon with the 3 lines. Type in your filter or search term that you are seeking. For example, I could type in tire and it would show me each of my tire items. In order to stop filtering by this column, you will need to delete your search term. To add a material attribute to your asset, navigate to the appropriate asset, then click on the Logic tab. Click Add Attribute, then select Asset. Give your attribute an appropriate name. For the type, select Material, then give it an appropriate default value of your choice. Remember, click Done to save. To set a variable asset rule, in the Asset Editor, click the Logic tab, then select Rules, then click Add Rule. Give your rule an appropriate name. Under the Conditions, select the appropriate attribute and which value you would like that attribute to have for this particular rule. Under Action, we are going to use the Set Visibility action, in this case twice. The first time, I'm going to select which nodes will be true when this style equals A. Notice if the name is too long, hovering will cause the entire name to appear in a pop-up bubble underneath. I'm going to add a second action that will also be for set visibility, in this case, that which is false, and I will select the opposite option. Now I have style A set to true whenever my condition is style equals A. Style B set to false when my condition is style equals A. I will need a second rule that will represent my style B. It works the same way. The only difference is that I will select style B, and my two visibility attributes will be the opposite. So style B is true and style A is false. In order to bring in imported assets, simply click and drag the asset from the bottom Assets pane up into the Nodes pane. You may need to drop it on top of the name of your asset item. You may drag multiple assets from the Assets pane as desired. In order to modify the properties of any of these assets, simply click on them and adjust the properties in the right-hand property pane. To add a rule to the catalog item, return to the item editing area and scroll down to the rules area. Click Add Rule. Click on the new rule you just created. Give your rule a name. Set whatever conditions you would like to set. For example, you could set what the style will be and select from the various options that you provided when you created that attribute. Select the action you would like to use with this rule. For example, I could set the attribute value, select which attribute I want modified, and then select one of the values that are available for that attribute. Click Done when you are finished, and then save your item.